All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. All right. For some reason, I can't share anything that's not in Firefox. So, are
That's
you able to
okay.
see? You able to see what's up there?
Yes.
All right, cool. I just thought of this little title like 5 minutes ago. I hope it's funny enough. That's the best I could come up with, other than untitled.
I
So
approve.
anyway, I'll just start off. It was August 2020. I was gearing up for what was looking like a boring, a difficult, somewhat lonely year of school, which is junior year remotely. Obviously, we're all remote. But as an involved student, I needed some way to keep track of my life. And Google Tasks was what I was using before, but with its limited features, it just wasn't cutting it. I mean, yeah, there were some crappy websites out there that could help, but nothing really integrated with my calendar. Nothing was fun to use. And then I found Emacs. And I'd known about the program or way of life as I'd imagined some of you see it for a while. And it seemed perfect at first, and it was. Before I go any further, I'll mention a bit about myself. I'm a junior in high school. I've always had an affinity for technology, hacking around, customization, productivity, probably like a lot of you, among other things. And this year, Emacs has made my life just a bit better. My journey started with countless YouTube videos. I watched all about org mode and then Space Emacs versus Doom Emacs versus Vanilla Emacs, what shells are available, some admittedly strange Richard Stallman videos. You name it, I probably watched it while doing my physics homework. Even though most of the time I had no idea what anyone was talking about, but I watched them anyway. It seemed fun. So I just one day I decided, what the heck? I'm bored. I've got nothing to do. I'll go for it. So I ran a little brew install, as a dramatization, obviously, and I installed Space Emacs because YouTube told me that was the best thing to do. And then I was on my way. Well, kinda. It was not easy. So Eric suggested that I talk about how I started and also the challenges I faced. So now that you know how I started, how about the struggles? So I finally took the plunge and I installed Emacs, and from there it was not easy. So to prove it, here's my search history from around the time when I first installed Space Emacs. You can slowly see them developing, but I had no clue what I was doing. I think my favorite is probably close file without quitting Space Emacs. I couldn't tell you what I was doing, but I guess I couldn't figure out how to like save a file without closing the entire program. So anyway, I persisted, and I eventually figured out evil mode, which helped me. How to use the various describe functions, obviously one of the most beautiful features. I think we can all agree. And then the next barrier to using Emacs, other than making :q not quit Emacs, was actually using Emacs. And I don't mean just messing around in my config file trying to understand like what in the world a hook was or how many parentheses I needed on eLisp, or I mean something actually useful. In org mode, as well as writing some Python, seemed like the right first step. I was nervous though for some reason. Why, I don't know. But here's a text I sent to my friend. It says, "Should I try Emacs for notes in class today?" I'm so tempted. It's just easy because we're all on Zoom all day. So I'm always wanting to try something new. But once I got over that, it was fantastic. I took more notes that day than I had in the past 2 weeks. And I will admit, I did get distracted by Tetris a few times, but ignoring that, there was something that about Emacs that just worked for me. It wasn't some weird crap stored on a server like Google Docs, and it wasn't a disorganized, unarrangeable mess like my notes on paper. And I've continued since then, and now I have dozens of files, everything we've covered all year at my fingertips. And part thanks to that, I managed to ace my final exam. So I kept moving with Emacs. I created my own to-dos and agenda view, and you can see that here. I blurred out a few things. I synced my Google Calendar in there to my org super agenda, and I began a new note-taking system aided by Deft. I also moved away from the framework, and now I have my own Emacs configuration I've been working on. My next project is to get my mail working, but that I'm having some troubles there. But we'll see when the time comes around. Um, so anyway, in a time where a lot has been really unknown and also unmanageable, Emacs has allowed me to get a grasp on my life at the moment in many ways. I see a lot of my friends struggling, and I think I might be in that place if I hadn't moved to using Emacs. I've taken remote high school, which has been a confusing and stressful experience, and thrown myself into a new tool. And I've come out both as a better person, a student, and a worker. And then again, just to close it off, thanks to Eric for being receptive to my emails. I've always wanted to share my newfound love for Emacs, but I haven't had an opportunity. This seems like a nice place to do that. So here are some of my history notes, and then my little homework, and I have everything archived. So if a teacher ever says, "Oh, you didn't do this homework, Jake," I can say, "Well, just check out my Emacs org archive, and you'll see it right there." So that'll conclude my lightning talk. Hopefully that was lightning enough for everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to, you can answer them in the chat or whatever you want. So
that was great.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions? I mean, anybody? I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions, but bravo, that's fantastic. That's very impressive, and I wish I would have gotten into the game as early as you have. So I think, like the rest of us, you won't regret getting into it. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you very much.
Journey, and I wish I could remember when I started using Emacs.
I
it was 1996, but anyway.
Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Lincoln.
I actually have a question. I see you use extensively org mode. Like, what is the piece of org mode that you use the most that is like more useful for you as a student?
I think there's something about the simplicity, and when I take notes, I'm always constantly going in. I think everyone's like this. We all branch off in different ways in our brains, and the ability to like start a new trail, fold it up, move it around is really powerful to me. And I also like it being plain text, and it's really maneuverable. Like I can just keep typing and typing away. I don't have to like go back and change the font size or change some shifting stuff like like on Google Docs, if anyone's ever used that, or on paper, which is probably even worse, arguably.
I certainly have a lot of thoughts as far as the mail utility that you use, and would happily chat with you sometime if you'd like to discuss that and try to work that out.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually sent you an email from MU4E, but I'm having trouble with like every time I delete something, instead of deleting it like duplicates the email into all mail, into trash, and into my inbox.
Okay.
And it's just a pain. So I will go back into the web client to delete an email after I've already deleted it. Anyway, thank you.
Great. All right. So let's do that. And with that, if there are no more questions, we'll move on to the next slide.
Ben has a question.
Oh, Ben, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
No, real quick. Having never done online high school before, I imagine that since it's pretty young, I expect the tech stack to be super restrictive. You can only use your Chromebook given by the school, and you can only submit things in this format. Is that hard to navigate?
I don't think so. Zoom isn't that bad, and I don't know how many of you are like big open source advocates. Obviously, a lot of people will hate it because of Zoom. It's okay. For example, when I submit stuff, teachers are pretty willing to accept whatever, but a lot of them will just take stuff from our like school portal, which is where everything gets collected together. But I found a button that says that it was always something like source, and I click it. I'm like, oh crap! I can just convert my org mode to HTML, paste it in here, and my teachers will have like a gorgeous table. And that's not even mentioning LaTeX. I like turn in my physics assignment and he says, oh, very professionally done. And I get like an extra point on my homework or whatever. There's a lot of benefits. To answer your question, I can work around it. I can work around it. You can live.
That's awesome. Heads up, all my math courses in college would give you extra credit for doing your homework in LaTeX. So definitely polish that off. It's a worthwhile investment. But that's awesome.
Thank you. All right, I'm glad to hear I'm investing early.